Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Y'all ready for this?
All right, Average Jocks fans, welcome back to another great episode this week. Before we continue, today's a special episode for me. It is my son's first birthday today. So I'm pretty happy. I'm a happy dad today, but we're very happy to have Jason Blake on this week's episode. Thanks for coming on, Jason.
Thanks for having me, and happy birthday to your son.
Yeah,
That's
that's crazy, man. To think that a year ago, I mean, hey, I didn't do much. Like my wife's the
heavy lifter.
Yeah, she's the heart and soul. Let's be real. But yeah, very happy. My son's one. He's healthy, like very healthy. He's 27 pounds at 1 year old.
Jesus.
So
Bubs is a big boy.
yeah, he's a big boy, and he might be a guest in the podcast before we know it.
Yeah, hopefully.
Is that your first child, you said?
Yeah. And from what my wife tells me, he might be the only one. So
Yeah, that's what they all say. I got 4, so.
Well, if you had a head the size of Adam's head, and his boy does,
yeah, he does.
I don't blame Alex for the one and done. That's a big noggin. Custom hats in that kid's future.
Already, he wears 4-year-old hats already.
Wow. Yeah, that's
Big
melon.
boy. As long as he's got it filled with his mom's brains, that's all that matters.
yeah.
You'll have a great hat deal.
Yeah.
But you know what, Jay, do you have any fatherly advice? You said you're a dad of 4 yourself, and from what I see on social media, you've done pretty well. You look like you got an outstanding family. Any advice here to Laddie as he gears up? Maybe the kid's going to be a little more of a sponge.
Well, I don't know about advice. I'm lucky because I got 2 girls and 2 boys. So I got the boy, my wife got the girl, and then we obviously had two others after that. But it's the best blessing in the world, I can tell you that. But enjoy this time now. I know it's probably tough to sleep at night, but when it goes by fast, and when they get to a certain age, they don't want to hang out with you anymore.
Honestly, the whole sleep thing, like we got told that a lot, and he's actually a very good sleeper. So we're lucky. Again, I'm gonna knock on wood here, but he's a good sleeper. I mean, the only thing, he's like me, he's a furnace, so like I can't hold him for long periods of time because it's just
Warm.
Yeah, he's just warm. It's too much.
Yeah.
But I mean, I appreciate it. No, I really appreciate it. Like, it's a lot of people always tell me different kind of stuff, and it's kind of, you just take everything like with a grain of salt, right? Like everyone has different experiences. So
yeah. Well, I remember when my kids were younger, I'd be like, you're so excited to see them. And, when for me, I was at the hockey rink, right? So I'd get home and I'd always want to wake them up. And I didn't know how tough it was actually to get them to sleep. I learned that, as time went on, and it's like, come on, move, do something, throw a ball, grab a stick, crawl. The moment you say you want them to crawl, then the moment they crawl, you're like, no, just sit down.
You had some pretty cool experiences though, with your son this winter. You guys got to go to the World Juniors together, which is phenomenal. I mean, I remember, my dad, every year we'd go on a Detroit trip, and we'd drive down to Detroit, catch a couple college football games, and then go see the Red Wings play. At the time, it was the Joe Louis, so it was
before the Little Caesars Arena.
Yeah, before Little Caesars. So chef kiss to the Joe Louis Arena. But such special times. Like, and I mean, I couldn't imagine. I mean, we were fortunate enough to work with Hockey Canada whenever the World Junior A tournament came to Cornwall. And shout out to all those boys that got drafted, not only in the first round, but all throughout the draft. I feel like
A lot of guys,
both
yeah.
2 days, I was just update after update of putting out congrats to guys that we worked with that I'm fortunate enough to still talk to, especially Jacob Fowler,
Yeah.
drafted to our beloved Montreal Canadiens. And Christian Kostadinsky, absolute beauty, going to our arch rival, the Bruins. But tell us, like, how great was that to experience that with your son?
Well, I mean, it was obviously a time of my life. I mean, for me to watch my kid, I mean, it's so cool these days. These kids that are at such a young age are so good, and you don't really, maybe I was oblivious to it growing up. I think I played 2 or 3 other sports, so it's just the focus is so much on hockey. And for me in the past, I've always watched the World Junior Tournament, and you don't really get the whole experience. I mean, you root. I'm from the United States, so obviously I always root for the U.S. team, but like going there and being part of it, it is everything that you could think of. The way, I mean, Moncton and Halifax, the both cities did such an amazing job I mean, it was like for those kids, it's almost like playing in the NHL. I mean, you're in the biggest stage, and like being in Canada, obviously I lived in Canada, I played in Toronto, and it was a thrill. It was an awesome experience, and it's one of the best memories of my career or my life. And you just see firsthand how Canadians are with hockey. And it for me to go there with my son, and I actually took my 10-year-old with me. So all 3 of us were there. I mean, he was with me for the whole 2 weeks, and it was just a great event. Great. Canada did such a great job. My hats went off to them when they won it. By far the best team from top to bottom. We gave them a run, or at least we tried to. And other than my son got his goals disallowed. No, just kidding. Ben, but I mean, it was just overall, it was just, I don't know, it was probably one of the best experiences of my life. And I got to enjoy it with watching my kid play, and then having my 10-year-old there, and he got to watch it too. And it was, I mean, I don't know. You watch it on TV all these years, as I'd watch it with my son Jackson during the Christmas break, or over Christmas, and actually participating in for him, and representing your country, and to watch these kids grow up, and play in such a high level event. I mean, you guys are used to it because it's every year. It's the World Juniors. I mean, if you're not involved with it firsthand, like I was this year with my son, I mean, you root for your team or your country, but at the end of the day, you're just, just watch the games and be a fan from your couch at home on TV, and minus 12-degree weather in Minnesota. So there's not much, but I mean, they did such an amazing job. And I mean, I left there with nothing but, I mean, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. Just the whole event was unbelievable.
So a question, I mean, for you, I know for myself, whenever I spent like the 2 weeks at the rink, every day, whenever they were in town, you got accustomed to the arena snacks. So being there for 2 weeks and going, every day to the rink, was there any interesting, or I guess maybe some arena foods that aren't necessarily offered in Minnesota, or even anywhere you're used to? Because I know out east they march to their own drum. They're a little different. Them in Quebec from the rest of Canada. They got some interesting things going on. Did you have a favorite arena snack there?
To be honest with you guys, this is probably sad for me to say, but I spent more time at the concession stand than I've ever spent in my entire life. But mind you, I had a 10-year-old, so I had to keep him happy. I didn't really get hardly anything there. But I mean, you talk about, I spent a lot of money there candy, cotton candy, popcorn. I mean, it was every 5 minutes. Can I get this? Can I get that? And again, I'll allude to you. You got your first son. Be ready.
Oh man, honestly, and it's so nuts because like for me, like my parents are split up and my wife as well. So we have 8 like grandparents. Like there's a lot of them. And we'll feed my son like whatever we're eating for dinner, he gets just obviously cut up or whatever so he can't choke. And they freak out like how like we just give him food. But like today for dinner, he had like pizza getty and a bun. That's what he had for supper, and he
Double carbs. I love it.
just absolutely destroyed it. So like I'm already worried. My son's literally 1 year old, and I'm already looking at getting a second fridge for my house.
That's you probably already have one. That's still a beer fridge.
Well, that's he doesn't know that fridge yet. That's all. I gotta hide that from my mother-in-law actually. But hey,
Yeah.
we're not talking that. But I gotta like it was actually funny because well, not funny, but it was they showed you on like TV you there watching your son, and like obviously like you played the NHL for many years. Like, did anybody like recognize you while you're just sitting there with your younger son, or was it kind of just like you were able to just blend in as a hockey dad and be able to watch your son like do what he was doing?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, that's the other part that was what a great experience because I've been out of the game for a while now, and I mean, people do recognize you, but I think the most like enjoyable was seeing everybody there again. I guess. I mean, I never again from watching it on TV all these years. I mean, there's everybody and anyone anyone and everybody's there. So I mean, you're from guys I played with that are scouting now to GMs that you might have run across their paths and I mean that was the cool thing. I mean, just seeing everybody again, it made you feel for 2 weeks. It made you feel part of the the hockey community again that I was so blessed to play in and for as long as I did. But yeah, the funny thing was that that night they showed me on TV. It wasn't as much going into the Canada game because they showed me on TV a couple times.
Yeah.
And I said on TV, but the next day, or it might have been like right after that period or something. I was in the the whatever the concourse. Thank you.
No problem.
People started to be like, "Oh, there's Jason Blake. Oh, Jason Blake, Jason Blake." But all the way up to that point, not as much. I mean, I saw some people and signed a lot of autographs, but I mean, I love doing it, and it was just, it just made you feel part of the community again. And I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it was one of the best experiences I've ever had in hockey, and I wasn't even playing.
That's
So
awesome.
I love to hear that because like nowadays I find with the players and like with social media, like they can't even go out and like get like a bite to eat at their local restaurant, and people are up in their face, like sign this, sign that,
Or you have weird people trying to message them on their personal social media accounts.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's not pointing fingers, but it happens. It's what it is. But like, I find like like a lot of the guys we've talked to, like either played when you were playing or like a bit after, and like their response is the same as yours. Like, it's nice to be able to like for example, you going to watch your son doing what he loves and being able to be there with your young son. To me, like that's pretty. That's awesome. Like I love to hear that.
yeah, like I said, it'll be 2 weeks. It was one of the most memorable things. For him, I didn't even know he was going to make it, and he didn't either. I mean, obviously, he's not. He's represented his country before, but I think at the end of the day, he had to make sure that he had a really good start to the season at North Dakota, which he did, and he's lucky enough and he's very fortunate to make that team and to do what he did. I thought he played really well the whole tournament, and yeah, I mean, as far as now, like when I've been retired, as long as I have, I'm just a dad and I'm a hockey fan. But do I get on my when they don't work hard? 100%.
So you said didn't you go to University of North Dakota as well?
Yep, I 97 and 99. And fortunately we won the championship in 97, and then we won all 3 league titles, but we fell short a couple times in the national championship.
But you had to miss a year, right, when you transferred?
Yep, I played at Ferris for a year. I mean, it's like I said before, I played golf, and golf was actually my main sport growing up. I mean, I played hockey, but I really enjoyed golf. And I did, I'm not saying I would have played on the PGA Tour or anything, but that was my passion. Because I mean, being from Moorhead, Minnesota, like I was a really good player up there. I'm not from Minneapolis, so I grew up about 4 hours north of Minneapolis. So I mean, I was really good up there in that Section 8, where there's about 8 to 10 teams. But if you bring me down to Minnesota, or Minneapolis, I was probably just average compared to all the kids. I mean, there's obviously a million more kids down here playing. So I never thought hockey was going to work out. I mean, it's everyone's dream to play in the NHL or play Division I college, I should say, first and foremost. But I never thought it was going to work out. And so I went to Ferris for a year it was Division I, but I went there because the golf program, and I was fortunate enough to have a good year, and I transferred back to North Dakota.
So were you a dual sport athlete in college?
No, I was not. I just played hockey. But when I left, or right when I graduated from high school, I was thinking about like trying to play for like a D3 school in Florida. Just because golf, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you play Division I, Division II. I mean, I got buddies that have qualified for the U.S. Open and they didn't even go to college. Golf is that one of those sports where you can play your way into it. Same with any sport, but you can if you qualify and you can play,
Yeah.
And so I like I said, I was a good hockey player. I just wasn't probably the best guy in Minneapolis or Minnesota. So I don't know. There's, being from up north like that, in smaller town, only 40,000 people, you don't know. I was just fortunate to get back to North Dakota.
So 2 things. So you're telling me I have a chance to qualify for the U.S. Open as of right now still?
Yeah.
Great. Not going to happen.
Are you a golfer?
I mean, I partake.
You have to go through a series. Yeah, my buddy back home in Detroit Lakes qualified. He played in the U.S. Open at Oakmont. I mean, this is probably 15 years ago. But yeah, he was just, true story. You got to go through a series of qualifications, and if you keep winning them, you keep going.
I don't think I'll be. I just felt like being a smart ass and asked that question. But I honestly, if anything, my brother's a great golfer. So I mean, like if he really wanted to, but don't remember what my second question was. But when you transferred, like, did you know when you were transferring from one school to another, did you know you were gonna have to sit out that year?
Yeah.
So,
the rules. But yeah, I did. But I always wanted to go to UND. I mean, I grew up in Grand Forks for 13 years. And then we moved to Moorhead when I was in 7th grade. So my parents had season tickets to, Fighting Sioux hockey at UND for years. And I used to go there. And when the year that I decided to transfer, a guy, Dean Blaze, was the coach. And I've had a long relationship with him, and my family has too. So it just made, it seemed right at the time, and at the time you don't know if it's going to work out or not. I'm just lucky that it did, and very blessed that he gave me that opportunity to play there. But yeah, I did. It was the toughest year of my life, obviously. I mean, well, one of them, I should say. I mean, you have to sit out and just watch games and practice.
Yeah, that was my next thing. Like, were you able to practice with the team, or you had to watch?
Yeah, I know. I practiced every day with the team, and then when they went on the road, obviously I didn't go on the road, but I stayed back and I skated every day. I probably practiced more that year than I've ever practiced ever. Because they go on the road, they leave Thursday. I'd skate Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday until they got back, or Saturday or whatever. I mean, it wasn't ideal. I mean, now they've changed the rules where you can transfer, and I'm not a big fan of that, but
I think there's still a rule, though, isn't there?
I don't know. I mean,
no.
I was nowhere near playing any kind of competitive sport where they were worried if I was playing if I transferred anywhere.
That's fair. And I'm more of a football guy when it comes to university. So like even then, like I don't think that once you enter like the transfer pool, I think as soon as you transfer, you're allowed to play immediately. So
Yeah, that's how it is now. We lost a lot of guys this year at UND. We've gained a lot of guys through the transfer portal, or I should say my son's team. But yeah, I don't agree with it because I think it's, if everyone leaves after their freshman year, kind of like if they didn't play enough or they didn't do this or not. I think, if you commit to a team, you should want to play there and stay there, I guess. But
Well, yeah, and I mean, I can't speak for anybody else, and I don't have kids, but I mean, I know my parents, always kind of instilled in us like the competitiveness. And to me, if I'm not playing as much as I want to, or I'm not getting playing time at all, I'd be working my ass off even harder to make sure that it would make me feel better knowing that I'm earned my playing time and earn my spot in the lineup more than, okay, I'm going to transfer to whether it's a drop in divisions or a team that lost a bunch of people and are desperate to replenish. I don't know. To me, it's a better feeling, and you get more out of it character wise. Fighting for your spot and knowing that you've earned everything that you're getting.
yeah, you and I'd get along great because I think
Fantastic. I love to hear that.
I think the same exact thing. I don't, from day one when I retired, I mean, I obviously I missed a lot of things with my two older kids. I was still playing and traveling a lot and stuff. And when I retired, I mean, I did spend a lot of time with Jackson. But the one thing is that I always said, like, no matter what you do out there, I don't care, but I want you to give 110%. And then you got to let the chips, because all kids are like, well, I don't play as much as this kid or that kid. I'm like, well, are you working as hard as that kid? Are you doing these things he's doing? And I think the foundation of everything is work ethic. I don't care what you do in life. If you don't have a good work ethic, you're not going to get far, whatever you do in life. So, and I think he's taken that, and that's you guys probably watched me when I played. I mean, I wasn't the biggest guy. I just worked my butt off and pissed a lot of guys off doing it.
But you know what? Your career is a testament to that. You went undrafted.
Yeah.
You signed in the East Coast League for the Orlando Solar Bears. Shout out to Matt Karkner, friend of the show, head coach of the Solar Bears.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you end up signing with LA, and you made it to the point that you were an NHL regular. And I mean, I can only speak for the people that I know in the hockey community, but everybody knew your name. Everybody knew who Jason Blake was, and you were putting up points. You made a great name for yourself in Long Island. You go over to the Leafs. Would have preferred if you had a little bit of red on the jersey, but that's okay. And you made yourself a career, and then end up playing your final year in California with.
Yeah, I said this before the show. I said to
I won't steal your thunder.
Don't steal my thunder. Come on. I said to Joel, I said I don't know if it was your last year, but I know when you played in Anaheim, you played with Teemu Selanne and Saku Koivu, which is like
a couple of good not guys. Slouches. Yeah, for sure. They're okay hockey players.
I actually, I was there for 2.5 years, and they were my line mates the moment I got there to the moment I ended.
Yeah, that's not a bad line to be on. I'm sure you picked up a couple points.
Well, no, it was the best line to be on, but I'm the one that got blamed for everything. I'd get yelled at, and I wasn't even on the ice.
By them or by the coach?
By the coach.
Who was it there at the time? Was it Bruce?
It was Randy
Carlisle.
Oh,
yeah. Randy had a bit of a temper.
Well, there's times that he'd be yelling, like they'd be out there and like my winger didn't change yet, and we get scored on, and he'd start yelling at me, and I'm like, I'm right here. What are you talking about? I'm like,
he wasn't a very big guy, eh? I mean, at least he didn't look so compared to guys on the bench, but he always struck me. Him and Bruce Boudreau, whenever they get fired up, they get really red, And,
It starts
and,
going
and
at
it almost reminds me of like the little man syndrome, where like they're just like trying to just have that
authority.
BDE. This is some big dick energy, just trying to establish dominance.
Yeah,
like a little Boston Terrier.
They were both great coaches. I mean, Bruce Boudreau is one of the best, not only one of the best coaches, but he's one of the best guys you'll ever meet in your life, hands down. He is the total players coach. And I remember, I mean, I'll go back to Randy now, but I remember when we got traded from Toronto to Florida, I flew out that night. Because there were some trades. I don't know if you guys remember that or anything, but I
definitely stayed home sick, near the deadline to watch Trade Center.
Well, I was traded probably long time before the trade deadline, but we just played Vancouver the night before, and I was at Starbucks with I have a 16-year-old daughter, so she was probably like 2 or 3 at the time. And we were at Starbucks, and Michael Pecco is one of my best friends, and he was my roommate in Long Island, and he called me, and he goes, he wasn't in Toronto, but he called me, he goes, "Hey, did you get traded?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm at Starbucks sitting in line with Annabelle." He goes, "Well, they just made a big trade." And I'm like, "Well, who?" And I go, "Dude, no, I'm at Starbucks. I'm going to order here. Give me a second." So then I put the phone down. I'm like, "I'll have this." Now I'm like freaking out. So I'm like, "I'll just get all this. Let's go. We're leaving now." And I think they traded Matt Stajan and for Dion Phaneuf, that trade.
Okay, yeah, the big one there. It was Stajan, Ian White,
Jamal.
Yeah, Jamal Mayers, and Nicholas Hagman to Calgary.
Yep, for Dion Phaneuf. And
yeah,
so I'm like, I called my wife. I'm like, "Turn on Leafs. What are you doing? Can you turn on Leafs TV right now?" And she goes, "Yeah, why? What's going on?" I'm like, "Pex just called me and said something about a trade." I go, "I didn't hear anything." And then apparently Berkey got on the thing and did that trade and said, we'll be having another trade or something here shortly. So I'm like, "Okay, what the hell's going on?" So I'm like driving home. I'm putting her in the car seat. I got Pex on the phone here. Go, "What's going on right now? Are you like punking me or what? Like, what's going on?" So then I'm like, I get home. I literally walk in the door in Leafs TV, like someone's talking on it, and my phone rings, and it's Berkey. And and then I got traded. But I flew out that night. That was a Sunday, and I flew out. I took the red eye out of Toronto, flew to Florida, played the Panthers, and I practiced in the morning. And then that night we're playing the Panthers, and I knew most of the guys on every team. I mean, not personally, but you know who they are. So
yeah,
I remember getting up that morning, and I walked downstairs, and Scotty Niedermeyer was there. So I had breakfast, with him, and then so I didn't really go over much of a game plan with the coaches or anything. So we have our first defensive zone face-off, and Randy Carl always did like the one, like you chip it off the board, the two you do whatever, like he had 3 signals, but he'd like go like this, or then he go like this, like he's how can you even see that, right? I mean,
yeah.
you're like 200 feet away, or like, so I'm like, I didn't do anything that he said. Well, I didn't even know about it. He comes back to the bench. I come back to the bench, and he's like, "You got to look at me." He's like, "What are you doing out there?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, I was doing this." And I'm like, "Well, what does that mean?" I thought you had an itch or something. Like, he goes, "That means the puck's coming up the board. You got to take off." And I'm like, Jesus. So that was kind of the introduction of me with Randy Carlisle. We already button heads. I'm like, I didn't know that.
I mean, not to just pass by your trade. Like your trade, I don't know if, again, I always tell guys this, Wikipedia always lies to us, but
I don't use Wikipedia.
I know. Well, I think it says you got traded for Jean-Sébastien Giguère. Is that true?
Yep.
You and Vesatoskala, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so at least I don't sound like an asshole. At least that's great. But like that's like to me, like that's nothing to pass over. Like that's just
Jiggy's a half decent goalie.
Pretty big
Yeah,
name.
he won a cup.
I think he was one of the best goalies ever.
Oh, for sure. I use a lot of sarcasm. Jaguar is a fantastic goaltender.
So when Berkey called me, he called me that day, and he's like, because I mean, he's a USA guy too, right? So I mean, there's a connection there, and we had a really good relationship there, him and I. Like, I mean, we talked every day. He's one of the most personal guys I've ever played or been associated with in NHL. He's always asking about the family. He's always asking about my wife's name was Sarah. It's like, every day he's like, how are the kids? How's Sarah? I mean, it means a lot as a player to be involved. He said I got traded to Anaheim, which I was like, oh, sweet, that's great. Going to, like, I mean, what are you gonna say? I was gonna say I don't want. Well, I did tell him I didn't want to leave. I want to stay here, and I'm like, well, who did I get traded for? And he goes, Jaguar. And I'm like, the goalie? Like, he's like, yep. And I'm like, seriously? I go, that actually made me feel better. I'm like,
yeah, I mean, there's definitely it wouldn't make me feel good to be one of those guys that gets traded for future considerations. I feel like that or like a 7th round pick in a cap dump trade. That one,
yeah,
that one probably hurts the most feelings.
yeah. I mean, it is what it is. I think at the end of the day, when you get traded, it's just it always sucks, to be honest with you. I mean, I was traded twice. I was traded from LA to New York. New York obviously worked out. I had for me, it was home because I played there for 7.5 years or whatever I played there for, and I had really good success. And I was when you're there and when you're in a city for that length of time, I mean, it becomes your home. And signing to Toronto and then going from Toronto to Anaheim, but it was it's always a new opportunity, I guess, or a new chapter in someone's life. And for us playing pro sports, it's just on to the next city. I mean, I guess that's how you look at it. I mean, you look back and you miss a lot of things that I mean, Toronto's such, it's the best city in the world, or, playing Toronto, Montreal on a Saturday night. There's nothing better than that. I mean,
No.
you guys know, and I mean, it's just electric all the time. And the fans in Canada I mean, they're diehard fans. So it's unbelievable.
They're definitely well, I mean, Montreal fans are definitely special, but I mean, obviously with the stuff that's been going on with the guy they drafted this year, it's a little disappointing. I mean, I don't think all Habs fans are as bad as they say they are. I don't know if you've seen what's been going on with the guy they drafted this year, but
What's his name?
David Reinbacher.
Why? What? They don't like it?
Yeah, I think the popular opinion was Montreal should draft a forward. We're really rich on deep prospects. This draft was deep up front. Let's grab a forward, somebody to help with the scoring. They obviously decided the opposite. Grabbed the first defenseman in the draft at 5, and people took to social media, kind of tearing this kid apart before he even had the jersey on.
Yeah. Threatened him, to be honest. Actually, he got some threats, which is not cool at all. But I mean, like, it's pretty tough. Like, I feel bad for the young guy. I mean, but the big thing for me is he signed today his 3-year contract.
Yeah.
So obviously there's something brewing. He said he was going to take one more year to go to university. I don't know. I mean, hey, we're just guys that sit on our couch and watch the game. So I mean, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's too bad. That's too bad. It was top loaded this year. There's no question, or front loaded, I should say. A lot of good. My son played with Adam Fantilli for a year in Chicago, and still good friends. And then obviously he played with a couple. Gavin Brindley, obviously he's not a first rounder, but another heck of a hockey player. So I mean,
and both of those guys end up going to play with each other in Columbus.
Yeah, I know. That's funny. That's awesome, though.
Yeah. And I mean, speaking of Jackson, like he's gone here. He was drafted a couple of years ago by Carolina. I mean, that's an organization, now people really want to go play for. I mean, Don Waddell and obviously Rod the Bod. Like that must be an exciting time to be a Carolina prospect.
Yeah, well, he leaves on Sunday actually for camp. Yeah, I mean, it's just Don Waddell actually. I mean, I've met him a few times. I've known him for years, but they just have I think all the organizations are great. I mean, I think they're run so, I think they're all great organizations. They're all the NHL teams. It just, Carolina, for their coach, I mean, that's what I look at. I mean, who's not going to play hard for him? Like, really, who doesn't want to? I mean, who wouldn't want to play for him? He's just, I don't know. I remember playing against him. It's funny. I was in LA and he was playing for the Flyers, and I was going. This is like my first year, maybe my second year. I can't remember. Or I think he was with the Flyers. Or I might have been my first couple of years in New York too. But I remember I bumped into him in the face-off because I was looking back or something before the puck dropped, and I turned around and he had this look, and I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I just bumped his shoulder or something. I was like, I thought he was gonna, like, I don't know. He's
a scary guy.
Well, he is, and you know what though? But I think he's one of the best coaches in the National Hockey League. But I think players want to play for him because, I mean, have you seen him? I mean, like how he works just as hard as the players do. Like in the gym, and guys see that, and I mean, it's just a testament to him. Like he's just been all his teams work hard.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they base. Like they don't have they have some superstars, no question about it, but they just work hard.
Yeah.
And how can you not love a guy like that? I mean, I told Jackson when he got drafted, I said, you're lucky. And I mean, if you ever get a chance to play in the NHL, I hope he's your coach. I mean,
Yeah, there's only, I would say, a handful of guys that are coaching the league right now, and you can tell their players are ready to go to war for them. And I feel like it's almost all those former players that are starting to coach now that kind of have that effect. And maybe you could describe it why that is more than reasons we can come up for, but whether it's relatability or maybe just a different philosophy than the old school. But it just, Martin St. Louis seems to have that same effect in Montreal, and like you've mentioned, Rod in Carolina. Bruce Cassidy seems to have that effect when he was in Boston, and again in Vegas.
Well, I think it's, obviously guys that get hired in the NHL, I mean, have done, younger, I should say the new generation, right?
Yeah.
And have done special things in their career. And I look at, I mean, I was pretty good friends with Marty and when we played in the NHL. I mean, it's not like all the time, but when I first came in the league and, we kind of came in together, his career was miles above mine, but that's a guy that I always tried to emulate because we're both 5'11". Not just kidding. But I mean,
you make that sound small, but I tower over Adam and I'm 5'11".
When we first came in the league, or when I first came in the league, there was not a lot of small guys. It was a big man's league, and we had to figure out a way. I mean, he did it way better than I did, but he had to figure out a way. Getting to the NHL is hard, right? The hardest part of being in the NHL is staying in the NHL, and that's what people don't realize. When I look at a guy like Marty, was that guy? I mean, you never seen a guy work harder than him. And he was he was kind of up. It was kind of like me. I mean, his career was miles above mine. But what people don't realize is how hard he had to work just to get an inch, because he was small. And if, back in the day, it was such a big man's hockey game. I mean, and now it's a younger guy. And the guy just had all heart. Same thing with Rod Brindamore, all heart. And it's just easy to play for guys like that because they've done it. And, they had success. And it's, I look at a guy like him or anyone, Rod, I mean, I would love to play for those guys because they were the hardest working guys on every team they were on, no matter what. And I don't know. That's just my own opinion. I could be wrong or not. But like Marty, I used to play against Marty and I'd be like, I'd watch him from the bench closely. And I would just be watching him. I wouldn't watch anything else. I'd be like, geez, that kid, that kid does it all. And
It's a lead by example, I guess, mentality.
Yeah. And you hear guys and like, it's not like I'm not, you hear guys and all they do is talk about how much they love to play for this guy. Or just random people say, I mean, God, look at when he took over. And I don't take away from any coach. I think it's a hard job to have to begin with. But I mean, guys, you're gonna win with more times than none than outworking your opponent. I mean, you're gonna, but I mean, guys like that will make sure that they're prepared every single night. I mean, it's not anyone's fault if they don't show up that night. Coach can only do so much, but more times than none, they're going to be ready to play and outwork their opponent no matter what.
Like I remember growing up, it was like,
hey, that's the long-winded version right there.
Yeah. I remember growing up, it was like, like you had your head coach, but like the assistant coach would be running practice. Like I remember watching Montreal. Like, I mean, for years it was Michel Terrier.
And you had Jacques Daniel.
Yeah, it was just like
running practice.
You know what I mean? It was just like but like now it's like, like in St. Louis, Brindamore. I mean, like even those guys go out on the ice for practice, and like there's videos of like Marty like practicing, and like the guys don't even know what to do. Like they're just like,
he'll take part in scrimmage if a couple guys are hurt. And he's still skating through people. And I mean, mind you, I don't know who would. I'd probably be worried about being a healthy scratch if I line up coach in practice. But
that's fair. That's fair.
But no, it's interesting. Like you were saying that, the guys that worked harder and seem to outwork people on the ice or at practice are now the ones that are having success. And it seems like their teams are buying into that same mentality, which is, I mean, probably the right mentality to have. But I like seeing it kind of come full circle and seeing these guys have success, because nice to hear validation that we have assumptions that these guys are good people and hard on their sleeve people, and they actually are, and it's whether it's you believe in karma or not, paying off their hard work. But
to be honest with you guys, I love it. I do. I love it when he got the job there. When guys start coming, getting old or in past retirement and, a few years and kind of stepping up going up the ladder of whatever they pursue in hockey, and they get that coaching opportunity, I should say. And I love it. I really do. I feel, you watch guys coach 2 or 3 or 4 teams and they get fired and then they're hired within a month.
Yeah.
And I love the new generation coming in. I don't know how many more guys want to coach or want to be a part of that. But like, I remember when Marty got the job, I said to Jackson, my son, I said, he's going to be successful. There wasn't a guy that worked harder than him that I've ever seen in my life. And he's going to make sure those players play and they're have fun, but you got to play hard.
Have you ever had that itch to get back in on whether it's player development, coaching, front office kind of stuff since you've been gone?
Well, I did when I retired. I mean, I'm probably I'm past that now. But unfortunately, I went through a divorce that took 5 years off my life. I just, and then we just had a baby. My little guy's 10. I've been divorced for 7 years now, for 7.5 years. So, I got to raise him and help that out. I mean, I know especially going to the World Juniors last year, I was like, gosh, I would love to get back in hockey. I mean, just the camaraderie and, part of something that was your whole life for so long. And, for me, and I don't know, I know a lot of guys in the industry. I mean, Jamie Langenbrunner lives just down the street from me. You guys know who he is.
I'm familiar.
He's with Boston, but I don't think, like, for me, it's like I have 4 kids and I got 2 still in one's going to be a junior in high school next year and one's going to be a fifth grader. So it's like, it's hard for, I don't know, me to leave, I guess, or do things like that.
Yeah.
Travel like that without, someone here. And so I don't know. I mean, I did think about it for a long time, but I think it's too late now.
Hypothetically, everything worked out. What would have been the most interesting part for you to go back into? Would you have wanted to do coaching, player development, scouting, front office, whether it's GM or assistant GM, whatever? Like, what would have been peak interest for you?
Well, I think player development would have been and then you never know where that's going to take you. You just have to get your foot in the door to an organization. And, I think, there was probably, if I would have stayed in Long Island for the remainder of my career, I think, it's hard to get a job unless you play for that team, right? Obviously, I know Billy Guerin's here in Minnesota, and I know him playing in some USA events, but it's hard because you got to play for that team. But if you're going to do this, I mean, you got to spend a lot of time wherever you're at. So if I'm living in Minnesota and I'm doing a player development, we'll just say New York, for instance, you got to spend a lot of time there. So, it's give and take with your family. So, I mean, sometimes it puts some stress on it, but I mean, I don't know. Listen, guys, I've been so fortunate and blessed to play in the National Hockey League and be part of something so great. And when I retired, and there wasn't, I mean, you always have regrets of some stuff, but I was just lucky to be a part of something so great.
I mean, I feel like everybody's dream. I mean, and you got to live that, and now we get to live that through every guest that we have on. So I mean, you're fortunate to play. We're fortunate to listen to you talk. But it's so cool, and like you said, the whole kind of full circle moments of guys that, Billy Guerin's another one. Just, I mean, at least he seemed to be out on the ice, just a workhorse to, now being GM and coming up. Just it's cool. It's cool to see that.
I totally agree with you. I love it. I really do. I love the new generation coming in.
And I feel like that's how it should be, because I feel like growing up, I mean, I don't know about either of you, but I can't even think of a coach that wasn't like an old, again, like as a kid, you probably think older than or they are, but to me, they looked, 70 years old, white hair, old man behind the bench. Like there was nobody that I'm like, that kind of even looks like my dad, or, like it was probably somebody that my grandfather was going to hang out with. Behind the bench, and again, don't want to age people, but you've seen the Randy Carlyles, the Ron Wilsons, the Pat Quinns, Ken Hitchcock, Terrier, Julien. There was just Brian Murray at one point behind the bench. Like there was just so many older guys, and now you're seeing like Jared Bednar, Bruce Cassidy, St. Louis. I mean, there's so many others. I mean, my head's spinning just trying to think about it. Jim Montgomery, Sheldon Keefe, like, and even GMs, younger and younger. I mean, look at Dubas in Pittsburgh. Like the guy's mid-30s, early 30s. Christ, once he signed in Pittsburgh, I think they had a list that they put out, and they're all like, these players are older than Kyle Dubas, and he's their boss.
Yeah.
The guy in Chicago too, Daniel Briere.
Yeah.
Daniel Briere just got the GM job in Philadelphia. I mean, I love it. I love seeing it. I like the evolution of hockey. I love to see all that, and I think I hope it's more to come too.
I hope so. I think it's super fun, and I think it, like you said, like if you're getting guys that work for that organization, like again, just being Montreal fans, like if somebody was to tell me, Saku Koivu or Jose Theodore, or Patrick Roy, I guess would probably be the closest example, were to come back for the organization, that brings back like that nostalgia and that fire and those, that taste in your mouth of what it was like when they were there. And I think that's just like a whole kind of untapped emotion that you can get your fan base back into doing that.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah.
I always thought Saku would go back to Montreal.
I figured I thought he would do like a victory lap.
He's in Finland now, but he is one of the best guys that ever played with, and just one of the greatest human beings too off the ice. But I always thought he'd go back to Montreal. I didn't, whatever capacity of that is, but I mean, he spoke very highly of it and really enjoyed his time, what I gathered. But I know he's in Finland now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like teams expanding their hockey development and their scouting departments and having head of hockey, European hockey development. I forget what team just announced that, and it was it Henrik Lundqvist maybe? It was somebody, no, Pecorine for Nashville, head of European player development. So he can go back and I believe he's Finnish as well. In Finland, developing prospects, probably in the Scandinavian countries and Finland and all of that. Maybe there's a role like that for Saku down the line in Montreal. Montreal loves doing the bringing back, guys in whatever capacity. Francis Bouillon, Mathieu Dandino, the alumni are strong. So maybe there's something along in the works for him somewhere down the line. Him, Markov.
I'm not against it. No, definitely not. Definitely not against it.
No, I'd love to see all that. I love it.
Well, maybe somebody, the right person will watch this, and your phone will light up and say, Jason.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but thanks for the good word, though.
Hey, no problem. We'll try our best to make that happen. Have your resume ready.
Okay, well, try.
A question I had whenever you mentioned Brian Burke. There seems to be a Jekyll and Hyde Brian Burke. There is full tie Brian Burke, and then there is tie slowly going down, disappearing Brian Burke. One seems much more colorful than the other. Is there two versions of Brian Burke, or
I always
does it matter where the tie is? Do you know how to approach him?
I always got the tie down with Brian Burke.
Okay.
I never ever once, I don't think, got nervous around Brian Burke. And that's for a guy I remember when he came into the GM, I mean, maybe just a little, but the first time I met him, he was so kind, I guess. Maybe it was just me. I don't know. He was just so nice.
I did not mean it as like a bad Jekyll and Hyde. It just seemed like he was definitely whenever he'd be in a press conference or before the game, or even they cut to him in the first period and he's in the press box. He has his water. It's good, collective, talking to whoever's in the press box with him. And then by the third, if you're down by a goal, tie's just hanging there. It's not done anymore. A couple buttons undone. He's a little red. He's standing up, pacing. It just seemed like it was two very calm, cool, collective Brian, and maybe more so hockey fan Brian by the end of the game.
I don't. Well, I wasn't in the press box with him,
but
I have seen him a few times from when I retired watching him. But no, I mean, he was. I don't even know how to say it, because he was. I mean, to me, he's one of the nicest guys ever met in hockey. Maybe it was to me and to only me. I don't know. I didn't do anything. I just worked my ass off for the guy. That's all I did. I try to do it every day in practice and every game. Sometimes it would work out in a game and sometimes it wouldn't, but like the effort was always there on my part. And I don't know, he was probably my favorite GM to play for.
All right.
Because I mean, like I said before in the interview, like every day I saw him and every day he asked me about my family. And I thought like that meant a lot to me, that like for a guy to care,
Mm-hmm.
or if it wasn't that, I was always talking to him.
Yeah.
And he would always come up to me and say, you know, if I played like shit, he'd tell me I played like shit. I already knew I played like shit, but he was just honest to me all the time. And I'm not saying GMs aren't, but I don't know. I don't know. I really enjoyed playing for him.
And like, I mean, like, like I said, those two, like Brian Burke, that with his tie, and I can just see both. Like, just like he kills me because I think he's on Sportsnet, right?
Yeah, he did the same thing on Sportsnet.
And they just they just let him do it. He just didn't care. No big deal. Like,
but again, it was the same thing. You know, they're talking first intermission. He's, you know, very put together. You going over the analytics stuff, and then by post game recap, he's just like super fired up, was ready to jump down anybody's throat, and it's fun to see because, you know, a lot of guys, especially the front office guys and some coaches, it almost, they're always in business mode. So it's nice to see kind of you know, the emotion side of it. And like you said, even in like, you know, whenever he would be giving his, either it's just July 1st speech when you know, post free agent frenzy or trade deadline presser, you know, he always called it how it was and said how it was. And he was somebody that wasn't afraid to, you know, call out and be like, yeah, no, we worked the phones with this team and it didn't work out. And
yeah,
you know, kind of stir the pot, or, you know, add some spice to what is normally a boring presser.
Yeah.
Oh, he had spice all the time. Like he really does. Best was he because he'd always have a dip in too. So that
really,
love to hear that.
That surprises me. He didn't take me as somebody that dipped.
Well, maybe that was the stressor thing. I don't know.
Maybe that's Chew was popular with the junior B and the junior A guys in town here. Like, was that?
Well, he wouldn't do it all the time, but
no, but like, were players like chewing? Like, was that something in the locker room as well?
No,
because I know, like, when I was working, like I worked pro baseball, and guys loved Chew all the time. They weren't allowed in the dugout during games, but like, you know, that they had to switch to bubblegum or sunflower seeds when the TV cameras were rolling. But Dip was definitely a fan favorite in the hours leading up to the game.
Well, I'm sure baseball. Yeah, I don't know. No, I don't. Not a lot of guys did that, and not during periods or anything. I mean, you know, now you look at these kids that are coming up now. They're like, they're in the best shape of their life. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's 15, 17 year. I mean, look at I got to watch it firsthand with all the Canadian guys at the World Junior Tournament, and even the USA guys like on our team. I mean, you guys got one of the Lane Hudson.
Yeah. No, he's a freak. I mean, I don't know him, but he just looks like a magician out there.
He is. He's a special player. A good family too. His dad's just a great guy, but he's gonna be an impact. He'll be an impactful player for you guys, for sure. He's a good player. But and then my Jackson's buddy Middlestead just got drafted by you guys too. And,
yeah.
And his brother plays in Buffalo, and I think he's going to turn out to be a really good defenseman. He already is. He had a really good year this year for Minnesota, and he played in the World Junior team. And yeah, I mean, I think, you know, it's just fun to watch these kids coming up. I mean, I just named a couple of them that I'm, you know, no, but I mean, you watch this when we played Canada. I mean, holy cow, every player on that team's good. You know, it's like it's just fun to watch because these kids are so good at a young age, and they really, I don't know, develop and they want, like, shooting pucks and doing all the extra stuff on the side to make sure they're a better hockey player. I mean, when I was growing up, I was playing golf instead of doing all that stuff. So,
and I think that's the biggest, like when we've had younger guys on, like we had Adam's cousin who's in the Detroit system on, it's hockey, 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 train, train, train. And then, like you mentioned, your off seasons looked like golf. We had some other guys on, it was baseball or flag football, softball, like, hockey was during hockey season, and then whatever else was in season, whatever your fancy was during the summer, that's what you did.
right. Hockey's such an 11-month sport now.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy.
11.5-month sport. I mean, these kids
in those 2 to 4 weeks that you take off, you're in the gym. It's just it's not sitting at home video game. There's a little bit of that, I'm sure, but you're still putting in the work, and you're eating eating clean, and
yep, it never ends.
No, it's a grind, but it's a testament to how bad people want it.
I love it. I really do. It is. I mean, the nutrition. I mean, it's not even the working out; it's the nutrition, the stretching, all these kids these days. I mean, they're so worried about. I mean, working out is one thing and skating, but like the nutrition. I mean, when I grew up, I didn't even know what nutrition was. Just eat whatever my parents put on the table or whatever I wanted to eat. Obviously, your metabolism slows down the older you get, but so now you got to kind of watch what you eat. But yeah, I mean, it's fun to watch these kids. I mean, even my son, and then even the guys that he surrounds himself with, to watch them year after year, how they grow, and how strong they get, and how much time they put in the gym. And when they come over and they talk about nutrition and all this, I'm just like, that didn't even exist when I played.
So what was your go-to meal after a game? Like, were you just like,
I never ate after games.
really? Oh, wow.
No, that's kind of, it is a weird deal actually, because I never ate. I mean, they'd have pizza in the locker rooms.
Yeah.
I might have pizza, but if we're at home, or if we get on the plane, you get fed whatever. I never ate. I don't know why. I just couldn't eat after the game. I just wasn't hungry. Maybe I didn't work.
Well, I don't know about that, but
Well, if you ask Carlisle,
yeah. So you played during the lockout. So like for you, how was that as a player? Like I don't think we've ever had anybody on here that was through the lockout. Well, maybe, but
the lockout of 04, 05?
Yeah.
I went to Lugano, Switzerland, which if you guys ever want to go on vacation, go to Switzerland, go to Lugano. It's the most beautiful place you'll ever go in your entire life. But I went and played there 7 games, thinking that, because they talked about the season probably starting after Christmas. And then, I had 2 young kids at home. And so I went over there for, I think, from like December 1st to the 24th. I flew back the day before Christmas and played 7 games, but it was a great experience. It's seriously it is the prettiest place I've ever been to. It's absolutely, but, and then when I came back, they canceled the season, and I just decided, well, I just didn't go back, I guess. Like I said, I had 2 young kids, and I don't know. I just wasn't going to bring them over there, but it was a great experience. I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, no, that, how different is the environment in a European rink compared to a North American?
Well, have you guys seen soccer games?
Yeah.
Like, chant the whole game. Like there's, cowbells and then drum all game long. Like, it's fun. It's fun. I mean, they stand the whole game and sing the whole game and chant. I mean, it's I don't know. It's for us. I mean, I think as hockey players, I mean, it's awesome. I mean, I got to play. Lugano was one of the better teams when I was there, and so they were winning all. I only played 7 games, but I played 4 home games and 3 road games, and like it's just, it's electric. Like seriously, I mean, from the time you come out to warm up and they're chanting, by the time they drop the first puck to the time the third period buzzer goes, I mean, I'd be exhausted at being a fan there because they just literally nonstop stand, cheer, yell, scream, sing, bang on cowbells going left and right constantly. I mean, it's fun. It was a great experience, that's for sure.
I know in the most recent lockout, we've seen, some superstars that probably would never have the opportunity to play together, in the National Hockey League for cap constraints. Did you happen to play with anybody that you didn't have the chance to, like, in the NHL, given it was only 7 games in Lugano?
No, Alex Tanguay was there, but he went home, and I think that's why I got the call to go there. But no, I mean, I played against Marty St. Louis. He played for Davos. Joe Thornton, Nicholas Haig, or I don't know where Marty went. He didn't play for Davos. That was Thornton and Nicholas Hagman. And then, but I played against Marty. He played over there. I mean, there was quite a few guys that year. Not in 2013. That's the year I retired. But 04, 05, there's quite a few players that went over there. I mean, they got paid pretty good money, like really good money.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and it's tax free.
I mean, hey, sign me up.
Yeah.
For everything. That's the best. Like, they give you a car, they give you an apartment. The only thing that I think that most guys, like North American guys, paid for was if you wanted the TV dish. Like you have to buy this box that you can watch like USA TV or North American TV.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that, they gave me grocery money. It was like the best setup ever.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Forget where I was.
That was my last good question. So
I have a couple for you. I'll start with the hockey one. So we talked about, you getting to watch Jackson, kind of grow up and go into the league now. And we talked about, the next generation of coaches and guys who played in the league going into management roles now. So I want to play a little hypothetical with you. You are, coach of an NHL team, and you can pick your starting 6. So your 3 forwards, 2 D and a goalie. But the catch is it can only be from the 4 teams you played from in the NHL. You can mix and match.
Do you want me to start now?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and I won't make it tough. Like, you don't have to try and find a right D, left D, left wing, center, right wing. It can all be wingers. It can be 3 centers.
My number one, I got 2 from one team. Is that okay?
Oh, that's more than fine. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go right off the bat with Toronto Maple Leafs. I would pick Austin Matthews. Well, can I pick 3 from one team?
Yeah. I mean, you don't even have to pick current players. You can go with guys that you played with.
Well, no, current players that go with Matthews, Marner, and I'm a big fan of that Nylander kid. I
think he's underrated being in that 4.
I couldn't agree. I thought this year when he held out for his contract, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, but I thought this year he was their best player from start to finish.
Yeah, no, he's consistent, and I mean, I feel like, again, Matthews and I think Tavares as well, and maybe, I mean, I don't know either of these guys personally, but I see watching Marner and Nylander, they have the heart. They look like they absolutely love the game. And the product on the ice shows that. I feel like Matthews and John are just naturally talented.
Yep.
But like, I feel like it's missing the heart on the sleeve for me.
With who?
With Austin and John Tavares.
Well, I think this year was I don't know about John Tavares, but I mean, he's just, he's getting older and he's still a very effective player. He's still a really, really, really good player. Mm-hmm. I think, scoring 60 goals and winning the Hart Trophy, and he was injured a lot this year too with his hand, and I think people forget about that. I mean, one of his best weapons is his shot, and he had that hand. He had that hand injury that plagued him for about 30 games. I mean, it was off and on because he would, whatever. Some days it hurt. I don't know what the situation was, but I think he's going to go down as one of the best U.S. players to ever play the game when it's all said and done. So those 2, 3, I'd pick the kid from Anaheim, the young kid, the superstar, the little guy. What's his name? Zegras from New York. I'd have to pick probably Honors League because I need a little grit on my line on my top 6.
Okay.
Defense.
Man, giving me. I just was gonna say, give me your starting. Your starting lineup. This guy's going deep. Okay, I like it.
Remember, I got 2 boys in the house. Other than this year, Jackson was gone, obviously, at school. This is all we do is watch hockey.
Fair enough. So, hey,
I'm still a huge hockey fan, but I don't root for teams. I root for players because I like those guys that do it year after year, that perform. You can always have one good year. It's the guys that I like are the guys that can do it year after year and get her done. And I can go on.
Oh, hey, continue. I thoroughly enjoy this.
LA, I'd pick Fiala, Drew Doughty, and Kopitar. Yeah.
And you have to pick one goalie.
Well, I would probably pick the guy from right now, New York.
So Ilya Sorokin, I'm assuming it's not Varlamov.
No, Sorokin.
Fair enough. Okay. I'm a big fan of Simeon, but
I would pick
Sorokin's next level.
The defenseman from Toronto, Mike Riley.
Morgan. Mike is the we had Mike in Montreal. He's a far cry from Morgan.
He lives down the street.
Mike?
He's from Minneapolis. I used to work out with him.
Well, son of a bitch. Apologies.
Yeah.
He seems like a nice guy, but if I had to pick between Mike and Morgan, sorry, Mike, I'm going Morgan.
I really like the defenseman out of Toronto. I think he's a really good player. Fun to watch.
No, he seems like an absolute beauty. So we'll move on to the non-hockey question. I'm going to see Shania Twain tomorrow night.
So am I.
At a concert.
I'm going.
Well, I didn't know.
You didn't know I was going?
No.
Yeah, I'm going too.
See you there.
Oh, you guys are going together?
We're not. We might now,
yeah.
but no, we're going to see her at a blues fest in Ottawa. So it's a bunch of country artists opening up for her. If you had to put on a music concert, Jason, who is your opening act? Pardon?
I already got it. I already know it.
Okay, so who's your opening act, and who's your main? What is that, main act?
I'd be like main event.
So
the main event.
With right here, I'm gonna pick 4. It's gonna be a big day. Okay.
Fair enough. This is Jason Blate's Woodstock.
My main person that would be the end of the night is my favorite country singer of all time, Jason Aldean. I love that guy.
Really?
I'd have to come down here and go with Carrie Underwood.
Okay.
Luke Bryan. And probably go with maybe my opening act would be Brett Young.
Interesting. So you're obviously a big country fan. I wasn't expecting that. I don't know. The vibe I got from you, I thought you were going like metal classic rock.
Oh, I'm all country.
I love it. Do you have a cowboy hat?
3 of them.
Amazing. See, I want to get a custom one, but I feel like my head's really big and it's going to be very expensive.
I got about 7 pairs of cowboy boots.
shit. That's another thing. I don't think I can pull off a hat or boots. I want them so badly, but I don't think I can do it.
It doesn't matter if you pull it off or not. It's just it makes you gotta have a country hat when you go see Shania Twain. She's gonna have one on.
That's very true.
I've seen her concert at WeFest back in the day up in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota.
This will be my second time. This was the first CD I ever bought, was Shania Twain's Greatest Hits, followed up by a Smash Mouth CD shortly after. But I was definitely fangirling at my first Shania concert. I'm looking forward to this tomorrow night. Just screaming, man, I feel like a woman at the top of my lungs.
Oh boy.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be a show.
That's when you guys will be sitting together.
Yeah, no, I hope so.
You know what? It's the second time I see her too. So
yeah, no, she's fantastic.
I'm pretty excited.
Oh yeah,
to be honest.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I just hope, the first time I seen her was in Montreal, so she wore a Montreal Canadiens jersey. She's in Ottawa. I'm gonna feel a little hurt if she wears a Sens jersey.
She's gonna wear a Sens jersey.
I know
I don't think so.
You don't think she's gonna wear a Sens jersey?
No, I'll take the under.
Okay.
I'll take the under.
I hope you guys have a great time.
Well, we appreciate that. We thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
I had a blast. I look forward to, I enjoy seeing your posts on social media. They're always uplifting and positive, and it's nice because everything else seems to be people complaining about something. So it's nice when you're on there. It's always, family and positivity, and look forward to seeing Jackson's career as I watched yours. So only good vibes there. Tell him good luck at development camp. Love to have him on someday. I hope you had a great time.
I had a great time. Guys so much.
If you tell Mike Riley, tell him not to see him, tell him not to watch this episode.
Or till the end. Just watch the episode till about like 15 minutes left.
We'll give you the time not to watch.
Well, he's a great kid. He really is.
Okay, well, you let him and your neighbor Jamie Langenbrunner know that message me. We'll have both of them on, Jackson too. We'll get a whole Minnesota gang on, and we can do a whole Minnesota episode.
That sounds good, guys.
All right, perfect. We thank you so much, Jason, again, for your time. It is very much appreciated. You're now part of the Average Jocks family. But it's funny because everybody we have on is definitely above average.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks. Have a great time tomorrow night, and we'll see you. Thank you. God bless you.
Same to you.
Go on.
Bye.